there's a lot that's been said on community. I think a lot of us have read like Nonviolent Communication, Radical Honesty, books like that. And I think we can boil it down to something really, really simple. Actually, another Paul Chek story, when that same time that I was with Paul Chek that I mentioned earlier, I'm like up in the hills where his house is. Paul and I are hanging out. And at the time I was going through this like really sort of sickening back and forth argument that had spanned, not a single argument, but just this like combative tension with a girlfriend that I was with at the time, who I was really in love with. And we had just sort of gotten into this sort of like, but you did this, but you did this, but you did this. Well, I did that because you did this. Like, no, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. And we just couldn't get out of this cycle. And because we were both so hurt and charged. And like I said, this went on for many months, and it was like killing the relationship. And Paul said to me that, I told him about what was happening, and he said it really, really simply. He like summed up nonviolent communication in a single statement. He's like, speak in terms of your own needs, wants, and feelings. Yours. Not you did this, but remove you statements entirely and speak in terms of yourself only. And when I drove home from his house, he like lives up in the hills, sort of on this winding road back down into San Diego. And I call her and I start actually practicing this. And I start speaking in terms of not what she did, but hey, like, I'm feeling this way. I wish this hadn't happened to us. It made me feel like this. I really hope that this can happen. And she starts suddenly, she hadn't talked to Paul, she hadn't got the same lesson. She starts communicating back to me the same way. And suddenly the tension just melted and this love came through. We were like, whoa, why have we been doing this all along? It was like two shields had been clanging together, and Paul just like came in and like grabbed them. Hey guys, like, here you go. Put these aside, now talk. And it resolved everything. And so the real secret to practicing this in communication, nonviolent communication has all of these frameworks and different things, and it's valuable to understand those, but for me anyway, there's nothing worse than having somebody practice the nonviolent communication framework at me while I'm talking to them and like running the script. You know, there's nothing worse than that. So the rule is, number one, you got to be smooth with it, or smooth just means normal. Just talk normal, but talk in terms of your own experience. And all of the you statements like, well, you're this. No, but you did that. Just remove all of that and just speak in terms of your own experience, okay? We're gonna practice this, but I'll give a couple more little sort of nuances. Whenever we're in a social interaction, there's going to be, like, whatever dynamic the interaction takes is going to be mirrored in our body. There's a somatic sort of reaction to a conversation, to a person even, and we all have this unconscious somatic patterning as it relates to interactions as well. So you might notice that if you're like walking down the halls in a school or in your office or whatever the case may be, and somebody walks by you, your body reacts to that person largely unconsciously, unless you're being really conscious of it. And so it might be like, oh, my stomach tightens when I start talking to somebody. Maybe my shoulders contract. And I would say, like, especially during this exercise, but also for the rest of your life, take note of that. Like, really notice, how is my body doing right now? And that's where we practice like the principles of posture and alignment, relaxation. The goal isn't to just meditate like that. The goal is to live that way. And so you'll be most open and available with somebody when your body's the more open and available. It'll be mirrored in the soma as well. So notice your physical posture and anything that's tense. That tension and contraction in the body is a sort of armoring against the person. And you can't connect through a shield. Shield has to be put down. So relax the shielding, and not only soften the body, but soften your words. Soften your words. And this is done by touch. Like, we can probably come up with examples of this, but a lot of people in my experience just talk way too sharp. And I think we're all guilty of this. I'm sure I am too at times. But see what the most gentle way of saying what you want to say could be. And part of that is removing the you statements, speak in terms of your own experience. But speaking in terms of your own experience, you could still say like, well, I'm pissed off and I hate that this happened. Soften your words. And it's sort of, if you're feeding a newborn baby, it's really hard for them to impossible really for them to bite through all of this like coarse food. So we feed them baby food. It's soft. It goes down easy. Your words are going to go down much easier if you soften them. Okay, so soften the body, soften your words, speak in terms of your own experience.